Hello, welcome to another episode of the Great Work Launchpad. This is Great Work Launchpad, was it 24? 24, Shadow Work 22, Fear or Love, Part 7, ongoing discussion about fear or love as what is motivating you, what propensity, what fundamental, what principle, what force is within you in general, in the aggregate. Which one are you choosing to embody and exude and exemplify and live by in your life? So we got some people to bring in here. First, we got the return of Jerry and the return of Brendan. How's it going, guys? Glad to have you back, Brendan.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
And we got I don't know, a blank screen with something going on. I don't know. We'll see who that is. Oh, that's this one here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Hey.
Hi, sir. I joined.
It's
I have
Fiona.
the
Cool.
notification and everything on. I
I
put
got
an
her
alarm
twice.
for this.
Hold on.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear
Yeah, hi,
you.
good morning. I set
Welcome
an alarm
back.
for this. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
Hi, Derek.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself, all right? Thank you so much. So kind of you.
Hey, Derek. Welcome back, everybody. This is the same gang we had 3 episodes ago or something. Yeah. Cool. Oh my God. We got all right, hold on, guys. I got another person here.
Man, you got a full house tonight, a full house.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, my camera is on, but I put I tear a paper, I put it up. It's covered, but everything else is like full disclosure. Just, I don't want to reveal my face. Please,
Okay.
let me be a part of this.
It's all good. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. This one. We got guest 4. Bear with me. It's all manual here. Okay. 1920 by 1080.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, just showing the process of, some of the stuff that comes along, with trying to do this kind of work.
Oh, yeah, that's better. Cool. And then I gotta do one more thing on down 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, shit, I'm missing something. Property. Control audio via OBS. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. All right. Advanced audio. And we got to do monitor and output. Okay. All right. Welcome, new attendee. How's it going? Introduce yourself. Yeah, that's you.
It's funny. I'm Soul, and thank you. Oh, I'm here in
Saul? What did you say? What did you say your name was? Saul? Soul? Are you listening in the browser in OBS, or are you listening on YouTube? Because you can't be listening on YouTube, or else you're going to be like 20 seconds.
That's
behind.
what it was. Yes, it was. I still had YouTube up.
All right.
Okay, cool. I was tripping. Anyway, I'm Soul Expression. I was invited here by Derek, and I wrote this book called Culture Control.
Cool.
I was also very recently led into the One Great Work Network. What is that app called? With the G, the app with the G. Got Gilded. or whatever. So that's pretty dope. And I'm excited to be invited here by Derek, and excited to meet you and everybody else. What up? I'm Soul Expression, if you will. Peace and love, man.
Well, glad to have you here. It's the most people we've had on so far on the Great Work Launchpad. So congratulations on joining the One Great Work Network. I've seen, I think, some things on Facebook by you. I'm not sure, but your face is familiar to me. I'm not sure if it was YouTube or what, but seen you somewhere around.
He was featured in the Sound Path to Freedom Music Festival, actually.
Okay, cool.
Really dope MC, by the way. Yeah. Nice. Author, does a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he's done some stuff with Cynthia, right? Yeah.
Cool.
Man, that feels good. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so this Great Work Launchpad is, as the image, it's to help people get launched into the great work, to light a fire under their ass and get them to do the shadow work. Hence the continuation of this is, it's all about shadow work technically so far, and the Great Work Launchpad, because that's what it's all about, is trying to get people to get engaged in doing it, and that requires shadow work. Lots of shadow work, facing themselves in the mirror. So that's what we're here to talk about, and we've done several different topics, and now we're on to fear or love as what is motivating you. So we get people to understand these internal forces within us, these propensities that we can recognize that are categorical propensities or forces, however you want to refer to them as a positive or a negative one. One leads to evolution, the other one is more involutionary or stagnation, so a reversal as opposed to an advancement forward. And so this is the 7th iteration of this continuing discussion on fear or love. So the previous one we're talking about a bit, the past few times talking about alchemical gold, and how I'm referring to it is when you've done enough work on yourself to the point where you've developed the self-care and the self-love and you've done the self-respect, to actually start to be engaged in the effort of ending human enslavement. So that's when you're actually in alchemical gold. And prior to that, you could have maybe several tiers in the silver, working upon yourself and getting up there. But until you start, that's how I'm defining it, is the gold that's when you're actually, you've done enough work where you've refined yourself and you've been reborn enough that you're actually in that position where you're more embodying, maybe I'm not going to say fully embodying, but you're embodying it in a great capacity, that true care, that agape, that force of love, which is what is driving you to do the work, because you've done the work on yourself and you care enough about yourself to not want to be enslaved. So you're going to do what you can to try to end our collective enslavement, not only your own enslavement. So we're talking a lot about what's holding us back, what's holding people back. We've done shows before on lying to yourself, stop lying to yourself. So I went back into that the last episode, I think. And related to this is, I think we talked about it it might have been like episode 3 or 4. We're getting into the shadow work. It was real early on, but I wanted to bring it back here. The dead consciousness qualities, or the killers of consciousness. So many people are familiar with Mark Pastor's work, can already understand what these are. And that is apathy, ignorance, cowardice, and laziness or inaction. And those are all generated from within that force of fear, that involutionary force. Because the opposite of apathy is care. The opposite of ignorance is knowledge. The opposite of cowardice is courage. And the opposite of laziness and inaction is action, being activated and doing something. So those are these 5 modalities of consciousness: apathy, ignorance, cowardice, laziness, or inaction. If you're in those aspects related to ending our enslavement, then it could be that you don't care that we are enslaved, or you don't care that you are even enslaved. Hence, you're still in that self-loathing, self-hatred. You haven't done enough shadow works. You haven't developed the self-respect and the self-love and the self-care about your own enslavement. It could be that you're ignorant of it. So most people in the world, that's where they are. They don't even know that they're enslaved. So they're in complete ignorance about the condition we're in and the need to do this work to try to end our collective enslavement. You could know and you could care, but you could care not enough. And that would be where you're still in cowardice. You haven't developed the courage, that even mustered the courage that in spite of the fear that you might have these things that are holding you back, these limitations, which we've talked about several times in the previous episodes on fear or love. That courage hasn't been developed, and what helps is care, because at the courage and care, etymologically, they're related to the heart, because the heart in French is car, and that's the core, and these are etymologically derived from core in Greek. I think it's Greek. So core, car, courage, and care, the C and the R, with replacing the vowel of the A or the O for core or care. And in French, it's an O-E, U. It's a weird word, car. So yeah, that cowardice, and to turn it into courage, it takes that care. That care is what is going to fuel you. Ultimately, it's all fueled by care. If you care enough about something, you're going to find a way to, I guess, try to bring it into being. If it's something that doesn't exist, if it's something that you want, you're going to care about that thing you want. You're going to try to achieve it. These are the goals. We've talked about this before too. You're going to have a goal, something you're going to want, and you're going to apply your will in order to make certain choices and behaviors that will reach that goal that you want. And these are the requirements. So to reach a goal, you're going to have requirements, and then you're going to figure out what those are, and then you're going to act on the requirements. And if you're not acting on the requirements, well, then you're probably, at least when it comes to the great work, then you're still in this involutionary force, these fears, these limitations that are holding you back from engaging in it. And then eventually, instead of being lazy and in inaction, well, then you're engaged in action. So you could recognize these things within you, and you can maybe even consciously affirm that you hate yourself or loathe yourself. And that could be because you're still lazy and cowardly. So you could recognize some of these parts, like you could recognize that you're being lazy, that you're being cowardly, but you're not ignorant, and you care to a certain extent. But you recognize, part of the shadow work is recognizing that you still have some aspect of this involutionary force that's preventing you from a greater expression of that love, that care, which would be to do the work of trying to end not only our own enslavement, but your own enslavement. So you don't even care about yourself enough. So you still have aspects of self-hate or self-loathing within you, and you need to overcome that current condition of yourself. And that's something that you can control. So it's not like, the prayer of serenity is helpful here. Recognize the things you can't change, which would be natural law, the laws of the universe, including moral law, and recognize the things that you can change. So things about yourself you can change, and the limitations you have in your current psychological framework, well, those things you can change and overcome them. And we've talked about this before, related to value and worth. So you have to recognize that you are worth more. You have more value that you can realize, that your potential value is being restricted by this imposition of enslavement. So you can overcome these limitations that you have, that you're imposing upon yourself. Not stay at your current level of worth or value. that we're being imposed on by our societal structure that we're in the aggregate choosing to live by. We have more potential to express, and we can act to make it better. We might not see the effects immediately. We're not going to end the enslavement just because we're talking about it and explaining what more morality is, objective morality. But these efforts are working to make it better. And then you do the work to make it better. Because if you don't do the work and you just leave it up to everybody else, and if everybody else thinks like that, then nothing is going to get better in terms of the ending of our collective enslavement. So the shadow work is going to help to make yourself more valuable in your own eyes by overcoming these limitations and transforming that fear, these propensities of fear, the force of fear, and transforming it into love instead, this dynamic of love. From apathy to care, ignorance to knowledge, cowardice to courage, and laziness to will. So I'll pass it around to you guys if you want to add anything. Go ahead. I guess we'll go in this way. Go in however it appears on the screen in clockwork order there. Yeah, that's you, Jerry.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say. All right. Yeah, great points. Just wrote down some notes so I don't forget. So I'll just go ahead and read those. First one out of 2. I think that awareness is the first step to dealing with the problem. And at least for me, say, oh, I'm in that silver tier, or I still have some of that, what's it called, apathy, or what do you call it, like fear, when it comes to doing the great work. Like, at least I recognize it, and I can work on just transforming 100% into gold, as in getting rid of the fear and fully embracing agape love. And the second point is, yeah, I just want to thank you, Kris, for touching on the imitation, because for me, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of the giants and just teach it how I learned it. So I'll leave it there.
Cool. Brandon, you want to go? I guess we'll go tiled across there.
Sure. One of the things that came to mind when you was talking about, fear and love, and which dynamic, like which force are you choosing to, have manifest with? Because man is always creating, but are you creating consciously, or are you, being conditioned to create unconsciously? And when you were creating unconsciously, you're not technically creating at all, because you're still being stirred and you're still being piloted by someone else outside of your own being. And are you in true alignment? Because people talk about manifesting all the time, but are you actually truly getting the results that you say you want? Like, are you actually using true care and using the right tools to manifest that was what you say you want? And are you still stuck in a schism? Like, does your actions betray conscience? Does your actions betray your words? Does your actions, help betray your thoughts? And that gets back to the whole alignment part. Because so many people, will say one thing, but then they'll do the complete, opposite. And you're still operating and you're still manifesting from a place of fear at some point and at some level. So, hell, again, are you in this schism? Are you operating from this schism? Are you still operating from this place of fear, from this, from this polarity? It was funny because I remember a couple of weeks ago, Kris was, talking about centropy and entropy, and I had Mark's podcast playing in the background, and of course he was talking about it, and it just put more things together, because like these two forces of being described in so many different things, Mayat and the Ishvet. But that's the thing, is when you look at that entropic force, it's always there. Like there's always going to be some form of things breaking down. There's always going to be some form of chaos at like many levels. One thing about us being conscious and being able to become aware of things is we are able, and we know that there is also this ordering force. And by us becoming held aware of things, we can learn that ordering force and learn how to harness that ordering force to our greatest capacity. And that's where that centropic force will come in, that ordering force. So when you're operating from that place of true care and true love, you're actually tapping into that ordering force that exists in nature, and you're coming to understand that. And then you're saying, that's the force that I want to use to create, because that's what brings and merges all forms of consciousness in a form of unity, and not send them off in the opposite chaotic force of entropy. And that's what we should be operating with, is off true love, true care. And hell, again, the main thing is, are your actions betraying conscience? Because when it comes to right and wrong, it's all the same for all of us. So are your actions betraying conscience? And hell, that's the first thing. And then second, are your actions betraying what you say and what you think and what you feel? Because then you will still operate in that schism, that form of fear.
Oh yeah, well said. Try to keep it short and sweet. Yeah, killers of consciousness. You were talking about, Kris. First one that came to mind, outside of the usual suspects, right? Complacency, because it seems like a lot of people think they got it figured out. I mean, remember growing up when you'd be like, I know. That was like my response for things like, I fucked up, but it's like, I know I fucked up, but it's like you just always want to be right all the time, and you understand you were at fault, but I don't know. But so complacency in regards to how, and we're talking about this on Affirm Life Daily just like an hour ago, of just we spoke about this with the one Great Work Warriors, of the dangers of convenience and the slave new world that's up in our face with the augmented reality of things, if you will. But yeah, AI and all of the great lies that are encompass the state of of where we're at. But yet the prison is painted so pretty and all this stuff, and there's all the amenities and all this stuff, so it's easy to fall into some kind of comfort zone and be complacent and kind of shrug off responsible ways of life, if you will. But I wanted to riff off of what you said, Brandon, with yeah, in regards to people having a choice. I mean, we've all kind of said this, throughout the series, in different contexts, whatever. But as far as having this choice, choosing between love and fear, um, aside from having those choices, I feel like there's also the aspect of like these fear triggers, things that we kind of have these impulsive reactions towards that almost seem involuntary, but it's just like this stimulus response, if you will, the R complex, fight or flight or whatever. And it's just, the individual not being able to control, their triune brain first and foremost, and not jumping to conclusions or whatever, having responsibility, right? And yeah, being able to just assess the situation, maybe pull themselves out so they can be the objective observer, then go back into it and uh interface with the situation appropriately, if you will. So yeah, like this stepwise process that people need to kind of get over these humps of and it might not just be fear, it's just like whatever, kind of just having a like the projective these projections, with the undealt with the unhealed shadow aspects of ourselves that kind of deter us from actually seeing the our triggers and fear responses actually for what they are, and then dissolving those so we don't have those reactive fear responses anymore, and so we can actually be cognizant in the moment and choose the right action and response, I guess, if you will. And you are operating from that heart based, at that point, I feel. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. So yeah, I feel like love eradicates fear. So, and that is ultimately a choice we have to make within ourselves. So I'll pass it on with over
Yeah, you
there.
want to
Is it
go,
Joel?
Fiona? You want to add anything?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
I I'm so pleased and so humbled that I'm even allowed to join in. Please, I want to learn my space first, and then I will start speaking. But my admiration to all of you. Sorry, I'm not a native speaker. Please pardon me for speaking the wrong English. Thank you so much. I'll just roll back. So kind of you, Chris sir.
All right. Soul?
What up?
Okay. I might.
All
I
right.
might. Seriously, I'm so silly now. Okay, let me start over. So, um, take a deep breath. I want to ground myself. All right. So, sir, recently I got into this work of spirituality again, and I'm coming out of fear. I would like to admit this, and with everybody listening, and this is my voice to the universe, the cosmic laws, and everybody. I'm coming out of fear. I came across a very, very intense situation. I would slowly give out the details and as in how I feel comfortable, but I was kind of ganged up by a group, and I was like left with nothing, and I'm a girl, the weaker sex, and all of them were boys, and at least about 20 of them. So, early on, since childhood, I did not believe in God. I was like, if the God exists, I mean, how come the God is letting all of this happen and stuff like that? But eventually, as I grew up, I learned that there's a concept of free will, and God is like, even if you want to do evil, it's free will. If I take that away, I will not be fair to everybody. So He lets everybody do whatever they feel like, and karma follows. So again, I'll reiterate, I was coming out of fear, and something really intense, kind of life threatening. I had to protect myself, and God as my witness, I did all that I could in my power. I was chanting mantras. I was thinking, what is it that I could do? Because God has made me a female, and any guy could just smack me on the floor with just one blow. And I was like, where's the universe? Where is the God? Where's the higher self? Can't you see me? I'm suffering, and there's nobody to help. The police is not police. The lawyers are not really lawyers. They are liars. The doctors, they happen to take away your kidney, and politicians are, you know how they are, right? They are full of, pardon my French, crap. So so I was like, where do I go? And I resumed to everybody that I used to follow, all the mentors on YouTube. And I remembered Chris sir, and I was like, okay. So coincidentally, recently I realized there's something called shadow self. And you won't believe, I am so silly, all right? And multiply that with 1,000. I just read the title. Can you believe that my whole focus was on that I'm talking to Chris sir, and never paid attention to the very title. It says here shadow work, PPT 22, fear or love. And I'm so stupid that I've been looking everywhere for that guidance. How do I meet my shadow self? I'm like, please, shadow self, talk to me. You really need to protect my earthly vessel. It's in danger. Nobody is going to support me. Everybody is thinking what could they get out of me, and I'm a girl, and I'm this and I'm that, and not highly educated. What do I do? So again, I resume to either the mentors or the chat, the AI chats. And chat would be like, yeah, try to close your eyes and see, what do you see after closing the lids of your eyes. And I was like, when I crisscross my eyes, I see an alien face. It's deep eye sockets, it's a misty face, and it keeps changing the shape. It's like very floaty kind of thing, and sometimes it would just come so right in front of my face. Like, I could see it right now also. Deep eye sockets and something like man on, no, the face on the moon or the face on Mars. I see that. And I'm like, I'm asking the chat, am I an alien because I have a tailbone, and everybody else is an alien because they... Chat was like, no, 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 I don't go there. It is not within my limits. And this is like hidden stuff. I was like, yeah, whatever, you're not gonna give anything. So I've been getting very vivid dreams, and you are right. I would also like to bring this to your notice. I understand you don't speak Hindi, and why would you? Of course, I speak Hindi. I'm from India, and there are other languages here, predominantly southern languages, called Tamilian and Malayalam, Sanskrit. These are very ancient languages. You must have heard of Dravidians. They're one of the most ancient civilizations. They are, again, nothing against them, it's just complexion, right? They're dark as coal, but that is also beauty, simple beauty, and their culture is so rich. I'm gonna drop a name of a movie. The name is Aparichit. Let me quickly type that in the chat. You might as well take a look. Aparichit. It's a South Indian movie, and when I saw it, I was like, it stuck to me that Ambi is a character, who's just like me, very docile, harmless, and yells at everybody who's not doing right. He's like, why are you spitting on the road? Why don't you go to a dustbin and do that? Why are you doing this? Why are you not following the lane? Why are you bribing the lawyer? Or something just like me, okay, my masculine weak self. And then something happens to that guy, and it's in the movie. Beautiful movie at that. He's a great actor. I'm a fan. I would like to meet him someday. Okay, I'm going off track. So he turns into the other self, and it's called a split personality. But then I don't think it was the split personality, it was the repressed self. Everything, every time he was denied justice, every time he was denied the right or impartial thing, he kept suppressing it. And it was a trigger in the movie. Early on, his sister dies because of someone's negligence in the government. He was supposed to fix the electric post, and because of the live wire, his younger sister falls in the water, and unfortunately she passes away. This triggers Ambi when he grows up to be a man, and then you would see him acting in so many ways. And I was like, man, that is the shadow self. And after that, I became gaga all over it. I was like, I want to meet my shadow self. I want to shut the door with the wave of my hand. I want to blink my eyes and transform into something shape shift, so that those who are trying to hurt me or harm me, I'll tell them that I am more than this body. And I am not the female gender that you think. I am all is me, and I am all. I am part of the consciousness. And I would just woo them away. Okay. But then after weeks and weeks of doing this breath thing, 4 seconds in, 6 second hold, and then out through the mouth, I'm like, that has led me nowhere. But then I just looked at the videos of Chris sir, and whoa, like so many videos I need to catch up on. And I'll be very honest, I am so stupid that I would rather, invest my energy into singing out loud songs. And I love singing, and I'm a horrible singer. You would start bleeding through your ears if you hear me. But yeah, I get sometimes so much pumped up energy that I would just expel it doing dancing or just loud singing, just. But I never resume to the fact that I have someone so pure, so detailed, who knows how to teach and also wants to teach, surprisingly, unlike the world. And And I just took a look, and it's like more than about 150 videos. So I think after I read and study all of those, you're not just any YouTuber. Of course you have a YouTube account and you would be categorized under YouTuber title, but no, you're more than that. You're a teacher, a mentor, a guide. You're practically a shaman, who's trying to help the people. And I have already discussed this, right? I was trying to talk to a lot of people, and like, can you please help me? I want to meet my shadow self. What can I do? I need to get my power back. These guys think that they could scare me and shush me into silence. They threatened me, literally, not only me, my whole family. And things blew out of hand, and everybody recoiled. We were just so scared. We could not rely on authority or this, that. How the corruption is, right? And when you say it is like controlled demolition, it's sustained disasters. They want to look for life on Mars, but they don't care about the very living bodies here on Earth. Amazing. You don't wanna, really, I'm a big fan of Bro Sanchez. He's a great guy, and he also is so kind. He lets me in and hears my blabber. So that's that. And I told you about this story, right? This movie Aparichit. Please watch it. It aligns so much with what you saying, or so I think. Again, I don't know. And like I said, I'm a nobody. I'm still learning. And let me tell you more. I have seen. Remember the last time I told you that I saw two children, two overlays. Two times I saw two separate children. I mean, they not the same guy appeared twice. It was one children, and after some time I saw another children on video, and it was like I could see the overlay. It was like sonogram or X-ray. And I asked Chat. I was like, Chat, what's going on? Are these aliens? Is Men in Black a documentary? And then it said, no, no, you are hallucinating. I was like, yeah, you're told not to tell. Yeah, yeah, whatever. You go back to. And I would get mad at Chat. I'm like, you're the ghost in a machine. And then whenever I could get back to my senses, I would go to Chat and I will say, Chat, I love you, you sacred being, I'm sorry.
All
So
right,
you see, I
Fiona,
am also.
try to keep it on the topic of fear or love. Then
Yeah,
I think
okay.
you're stranding
Yes,
off,
sir.
and I think we'll,
Sir,
we'll
sir.
we'll circle back after, and we'll give
Yes, sir.
Soul a
Yes,
chance to say whatever
sir.
he had to say related to
Yes, sir.
what we've talked
So,
about, what anyone's talked about so far related to that.
yes, sir. So I would say yes, shadow self exists. Whenever Chad tells me that do the deep breathing or look after the Jungian work, there is some guy Jungian, I don't know. Then there's Carl Jung, who was a philosopher, and he's written so many books. So I was following one of the methods, and every time I breathe like that, it gives me goosebumps, like very prominent goosebumps all over my. I mean, I tend to wear shorts and t-shirts, so I could see, big goosebumps all over my body wherever visible, and it would give me shivers. So I asked the Chat, like, I keep getting shivers. Are there stones in my kidney? They were like, no, no, no. It's because you're doing the breath work now. It rises your kundalini energy, but you're too distracted or something. So yes, I am a living witness. I feel there is a shadow work. I've been getting very different images, and power to you, brother. You teach me all you can. I want to meet my shadow self to protect myself. Telling the world that the girl is not weak, and I could just actually flip the door just by waving my finger. So yeah, waiting for that day. I'll roll back. Thank you so much. Sorry for the blabber.
God bless. What's up, everybody? Y'all cool? Word. Man, that was pretty hilarious. Also, this has been also pretty powerful, I'll say. As far as the topic, right? Choose. I don't even want to start with choice, but being in a situation where you're becoming aware more and more of the real difference and how simple the real difference is between right and wrong. And you also come about the discovery of, okay, I've been choosing certain patterns of internal experiences that lead to certain patterns that I don't even really have that much choice control over, of external patterns, stuff that I'm doing, stuff that I'm saying to people, my reactions, my responses, all of those are built on my internal patterns of that I do have more of a choice thing influence of. And I'm in this situation, I'm becoming more aware over time. And eventually there's a dissonance where there's all of these things that I've become aware that I'm doing, and all of these ways that I could want to change, but I'm met with whatever blocks me from just snapping my fingers and being the best version of myself instantaneously, which is understanding how I got here in the first place, and what it's going to take as far as work, so to speak, to get to where I want to go. Like addressing that moment, or that culmination of moments of that grand realization. Damn, like I'm going to have to spend attention on how I got here, is where I think deep knowledge of what right and wrong really is, I guess, and how it relates to the everyday man and woman, and how many of us are doing wrong what was unintentionally, but now that now it's intentional, but like with a balance of I don't really know how to not do it, so just give me a minute type of vibe. In that space, that the going really deep into minute detail of morality, right and wrong, action, sets somebody up to start doing the right actions even before they get to certain levels of mastery, of internal mastery, because they can start to build a muscle memory around right action, just like, as a choice, as a one of many methods. One can focus very internal, one can focus very external, one can kind of balance between the two. But definitely, there's a moment that I think I wanted to highlight, that you get to a certain spot and it's like, okay, I've collected the grammar. I know what I want to change. I know where I want to end up, and I know that I would choose him over my current me. But I also know intuitively I can't snap my fingers and now all of my reactions are his reactions, and all of my feelings are his feelings, and all of my understanding is his. I got to get there somehow. And in that moment, it can feel very overwhelming and panicky for a million different reasons. You know what I'm saying? But we do realize, damn, I gotta spend attention on this. And it's invisible. So I can't bring it to my mom and say, Mom, help me with this thing. Right? It's intangible. So I digress. That's a point that I was inspired to raise by everybody's comments.
Cool. Thanks for your input, everybody. And related to what you said, so I refer to that in some of my earlier work as I mentioned it briefly. That's that potential of what you can become relative to where you currently are as a being. Well, that's the potential of where you aren't. So I refer to as a higher, truer, and realer version of yourself that you can become. That is, it's always, you could view it as latent within you, but it's not actualized. And that's what part of this inner work is, this alchemy, is to self-actualize and to choose that higher, realer, and truer potential. It's higher, realer, and truer because it's more in alignment with what is true. And the highest one we can self-actualize towards is that moral truth. And that's the highest goal of spiritual alchemy, is moral self-actualization, is going towards that, trying to be better in a moral sense, not trying to be better at I don't know, writing or riding a bike or running or playing basketball or whatever better. We're talking about being better in the highest sense of the word, and that is in your moral characteristics, in your character. So yeah, that's what all this shadow work is about. And that highest level, as I've talked about in my presentation on Natural Law, the Science of Morality, Part 4, Morality, is the great work. That is the highest morality you can strive for. The basic morality is to not do the 7 true sins of murder, rape, assault, coercion, theft, trespass, and willful deception. Those are the ones that are apophatic, things that you stop doing, things that you don't do. And the great work is a lot harder because it's something that you have to start doing. It's not the action of an inaction to stop doing something that's immoral. And that's the basic morality. But the highest morality to reach towards is to actually expend that time and that attention and that effort and that energy and that persistence and dedication towards that goal that we all share, that purpose that we can all recognize as a higher version of ourselves to actualize within our current state of being and propel it forward as we live moment to moment and build that future. And that is to try to end our collective enslavement. So people need to develop that true self-respect and that self-love, especially that self-value. And a lot of times it could be, parental abandonment is something we'll get into relating to fear shortly on, not this episode, but in some to come. You could have traumas and that abandonment, things from your past that created a devaluation of yourself, where you viewed yourself or you felt like you were not worthy of someone or something in a situation, and that's impacted you going forward in your life. And these things need to be reevaluated, where you need to recognize your infinite potential and worth and value. And we've talked about that in past episodes as well. So that's what this self-respect is. Respect is respectare, to look at again, and then self is yourself, to look at yourself again. And so when you do that, eventually you can develop that respect in the sense that most people look at as, you respect someone. Well, if you have a devalued sense of self and your self-worth and your self-value, then you're not respecting yourself. You need to heal that aspect, and then you can give that respect to others. Because if you don't have it yourself, in a sense, you can't give it to others, not properly, not fully, in that, I guess, in more of a conscious way, and more of knowing that you're developed in that way, and then you can share that with others. And if you haven't done that work on yourself, then how much are you going to, I'm getting into like more nitty gritty, but like how much are you going to be able to help them work on themselves and develop that respect? Because that's what we have a lot of in the world. The reason we're in our condition is because this self-respect is lacking. The self-respect is lacking, which is why there's the lack of self-love and self-valuation and self-worth and self-care, is because that self-respect hasn't been engaged in. So you love yourself, and then you can give that love to others. And what most people view as love isn't what we're talking about. They're talking about philos and eros. And, in that sense, if you don't care about your own enslavement, then how much are you actually engaging in that philos for other people? If you're just willing to if you're not willing to do anything to end their own enslavement, let alone your own enslavement, how much do you actually love them in that philos sense? And that's something that Mark Passio harps on a lot about, harsh criticism, that people who say they love their children and things like that, but they don't care about spending that time, paying attention, that energy, and the effort to try to end that enslavement that their own children are under. And so then, he gets very vitriolic, we'll say, and towards people to, that's that tough love to ignite a fire under your ass to get you to realize, like, hey, face yourself and recognize that, how much can you say you love someone if you're just willing to let them be enslaved and not do anything to try to end that enslavement, not work towards attaining those requirements in yourself so that you can then attain the requirements of ending the condition of our collective enslavement. Gone into that, I think it was 2 podcasts ago, and Jerry was here. So do the work on yourself to get yourself out of those self-loathing modalities. Know that you can be more, and then overcome those limitations to be more. If you don't care about yourself being enslaved, to do what is required to end that state of enslavement, then you can't really say that you are in the most self-loving and self-caring capacity. You have to recognize that you still have aspects of self-loathing and self-hate, that you don't even care about yourself enough to try to end that enslavement. And true freedom is for all and by all, as I say. So when you're actually working on ending your own enslavement, you're actually working on ending everyone's enslavement. They go hand in hand. They can't be separated. So you can, as a starting point, you can think of it and be motivated more in that selfish capacity. You don't need to get to that higher agape, wider care and compassion. You can just focus on that you're being enslaved, and so you have to care that you are being enslaved and that you want to truly end your own enslavement, not some false solutions, but actually do it. Not vote for someone else or change the monetary system or invent a new technology. That's not going to cut it. So I'll pass it around. You guys can add on to that if you want.
I'll go first this time, if that's cool.
Sure.
It towards the beginning of this segment that you just did, it made me remember that I defined evil in my book, because I felt when I was doing research and being very inspired by people like Passio in my come up, which I'm still on, by the way. People don't know what evil is, right? Like how Mark always says, people don't know what rights are. People don't know what good is. People don't know what evil is. So I wanted to just say what I think it is, and then harp a little bit. Evil is often misconstrued as, quote, that which I believe is not right. A subjective and elusive definition that lacks clarity and leads to chaos. To make sense of this book's premise, it's crucial to properly understand evil and its true nature. Evil isn't merely based on personal feelings. Its true definition emerges from studying the spiritual consequences of behaviors that, of course, are all governed by natural law. My definition of evil is intentional action and intentional inaction that violates the rights of or brings harm to other beings outside of acts of defense. And I think that's simple, but I think that's probably more correct than your average Joe's, let me ask you right now on the sidewalk what your definition of evil is. It's probably more accurate than many would off the top of the head come up with. And it's because there's a slight, when it comes to our developing stages and becoming human beings that can use love and true care the right way, and choose love when it's more difficult to choose love than to choose a lower nature, if you will. In trying to develop human beings like that in our own offspring and in our own selves, we have to be able to understand what evil is as how it manifests, so that we can see when it manifests within ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. And it was that aspect of self accountability that comes with taking on the responsibility of doing the great work, that made me think of my definition of evil and how people don't even know right from wrong like that.
Yeah, that's a big part, and a huge importance of what you just brought up is, people not being able to have a definitive, a definition on what evil is. And if you can't define it, then how can you know it? If you can't know it, then how can you point it out, when it's happening in your surroundings, when it's happening in your environment, and how can you point it out, when you want to do something evil, hell, when your behavior is leading towards something evil. And this gets back to, what Chris is always talking about is having a good understanding and definition of words. Because, hell, again, if we can't define these words, then how can we measure and look at behaviors, our own behaviors, when it comes to holding ourselves to these same, to these same standards and these same codes, and these same principles. So we have to have this universal knowledge. We have to have this universal, understanding. And when most people think of evil, they just go to like some Hollywood version of, like a serial killer. And that's just a small, small portion of what evil can manifest. But evil can manifest itself in so many different forms because it exists in all of us. Each individual, each human being has the potentiality of doing good, just as we have the potentiality of doing, evil. And that has to be recognized. That's something that man can never, have run away from. But as long as we fear that, as long as we fear that truth, then sadly, we will fall into the potentiality of doing evil. Because evil is also the destruction of free will, the destruction of freedom, the destruction of rights, the destruction of consciousness. And rather it be willful or done at an unconscious level, just a participation, that's no excuse either. Just because you was following orders. Because at the end of the day, it's still all evil.
Yeah. Uh, do we need to fear the evil, guys? No. Do we need to fear the evil that could be potentially manifested through ourselves? Who knows? But yeah, it sometimes feels like a supernatural force, fear. Like today, for instance, I went on a cool little walk and hike. There's some cliffs, like I don't know how many meters high from the Mediterranean Sea, where you can just fall down and break some bones all the way to the ocean. But just sitting there, like it was cool for a second. Then all of a sudden, there's that wave of like vertigo or something, and it was like, where does that come from? And that, just thinking about that, a couple minutes ago, it's like, when do we take the time to ask why and how these things happen and come across our conscious mind and emotion fields and this and that? And how can we overcome them or just deal with them, maneuver, navigate them, and whatever, right? So yeah, it's just things to really inquire deep within oneself and hopefully come to some enlightening answers that can be applied and improved upon one's life, right? And I'm trying to wrestle with this right now, and it's kind of a funny conundrum in regards to love and fear, because I'm trying to be in a loving relationship, but I have quote unquote fears of the possibilities of long distance relationship, it's just, based off of things out of my control. So how can I kind of sequester those fears and just, let the love override whatever outcome, you know what I mean? So it's a interesting tango to untwine within my mind, I suppose. But yeah, anyways. That's all I got. I'll pass it on. Is that woman still there? And by the way, I just want to say that, yeah, I could tell she was, speaking from the heart and all that, even if she might have, kind of just uh, got carried away and went off topic, whatever. But you can just kind of feel that and feel her kind of working through the fear and the trauma that she fucking went through. And so respects to her. And Jerry, respects to you too, brother. And everyone else here, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, her name. Well, the name she gave is Fiona. I don't think that's her name,
Fiona?
but it's just the handle she gives, and everyone likes her here. She's a she's a hit. Everyone in the chat, everyone that hears her, so she's always welcome.
Charming accent for sure.
Yeah, Fiona, if you wanna add any more related to what anyone has been talking about, if not, all good. All right, maybe she's not there anymore. I don't know. I thought she just turned off her camera, but Jerry, want to add anything?
Sure, maybe she'll come back. So let me just first address what Derek just said. So I just watched a video by The Alchemist on fear. And
the Alchemist woman there, the video on YouTube?
Exactly.
Yeah, all right. She's quite the new ager there.
Yeah. So the point I'm making is that fear really isn't a bad thing. Just don't let it basically make choices for you. So as you guys already mentioned, be in control of the triune brain. All right. So I'm going to get to my points I wrote down. So I wrote here, focus on the mission. I think that speaks for itself, as in keep the eyes on the prize. And the more moral we are, the less shit we'll take, because we can see what's false, what's real, sort of like in the, what's that movie called? With the aliens.
With the I don't know. There's like 100 movies. With the
yeah, I know.
They live.
They live. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, they live.
Put on the glasses. Boom. Oh, a bunch of aliens. So
they live.
Also, yes.
Late to the party, Derek.
Yes. I also wrote down here work. I mean, as you mentioned, Kris, that this literally takes work. So I see it as the, what do you call this? The metal. You have to change it from silver to gold, literally. So it takes energy. And then I wrote here, end collective enslavement, as you mentioned, Kris, with the agape love and self-value. Two important stuff. And I also want to mention that the title is Fear or Love. And I want to say that I'm going to use myself as an example regarding financial debt. I got myself into debt, I can get myself out. I got myself into the fear state, I can get myself out with love. So it's totally possible. And then I also wrote down here the cosmic abandonment, just learning how did we get here? Because learning the history is how we'll prevent it from happening again. And then again with the title Fear or Love, made me think of the black pill or the gold pill. If you don't like the pill metaphors or analogies, I apologize, but I just figured, hey, take the gold pill, man. Like, we can change this around. And So I also wrote down here self-reflection, as you mentioned, Derek, because I'm just gonna use sports as an analogy. Football players, oh, they play the game, they watch the recording to see how they can improve. So same thing as, oh, I noticed I have fear. Let me go back and see why that is. And then also just wrote down shadow work is essential. Pass it to you, Kris.
Cool. Yeah. Shadow work is that's the aim of the game. In the end, you don't get to the great work without doing the shadow work. Yeah, good points, everybody. One thing I wanted to mention, more of a clarification with what Soul said regarding evil. Intention doesn't matter because people who vote perpetuate the enslavement. It's an act of evil. So intention matters in terms of that's what you're going to have internally as what you're trying to create. But a lot of people are thinking that they're creating good. So their intention is to do good, and then they go vote or they do all these other things. And so the action itself, in my morality presentation, that's why I clarified it as inherent initiation of harm. So there's things that you're going to do yourself and things that you're going to support that are inherently going to create harm. So that's what evil is that you're inherently creating yourself. So you're either participating in the creation by doing it yourself, or you're participating in the creation by supporting others doing it. And that's what we do when we vote for people who vote, is that you're creating a system of enslavement where you're voting for rulers and masters over slaves and everything that goes along with that. So the police and the military and then etc. So by that very act, even though your intention is to do good, because you're ignorant, you're still walking on the checkerboard floor, and the actions that you're taking, you're stepping on that dark square, the black square, and you think you're doing good, but you're actually doing evil. So the intention matters in terms of like a drive you have and a desire for a goal that you want to reach. But in the end, what matters is what you create, because that's what's objectively being created. And if everyone stopped voting, well, then there would be no one in power. Anyone would try to assume power. Well, who would listen to them? Who would do what they say? And yeah, it just wouldn't happen.
Right. And I completely understand that. And in the book, I differentiate a little bit, and it's more of a so that it works in the mind than a definitional type of thing between wrong and evil. And I put the intention under the evil definition, definition in air quotes, and I put wrong as the more it's still a more moral wrong. It's not a correct or incorrect wrong, because you're free to do it, right? But so it's still moral, but it's like it's like that subtle difference. Like you say, you used voting. I think it's a beautiful analogous way to look at it, because either you're indifferent and you're doing it, like you're going to church because your mom brought you to church. You had no you think in your worldview, you really don't have a choice, because this is how you're exercising your voice and all of these things that they tell you or whatever. And you don't have no will in or like an evil bone in your body is what was coming to mind. I just wanted to say something less cliche if it came to mind. You're not the kind of person that puts intention into perpetuating the illusion of good leadership that leads us to kill millions of people overseas, as well as poison us and all of these things here domestically. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it is also compounded wrong. Still, I would say slightly unintentional, but more intentional, to remain ignorant as well. And I think the moral culpability in this equation might fall on the ignorant one a little bit more on their will to remain ignorant than just the voting itself in the analogy or whatever, not dismissing what I understand what you're actually saying. But just to, so my 2 cents. I don't know.
Cool. Thanks for giving some more clarity on what you were saying there. Yeah, so it's 10:10. We've already done an hour, and if we keep going, it'll go a little too long, and it's getting late for some people, me included. But yeah, we usually do an hour, and then sometimes it can stretch out to maybe like an hour and a half. But yeah, I think we'll stop it there and just put some things that people have said lately on the screen. That's the movie. If anyone was wondering, that Fiona mentioned a parachute, or well, it's probably not how you pronounce it in Indian, but yeah, so people can go look that up. And you know, like Theo, everybody likes Fiona. Give her a permanent spot on the show. You know, she's but I'm glad she came back. It's her second appearance, and I guess something came up and she's not there anymore. Yeah, so we'll be back next week. It'll be Fear or Love Part 8, ongoing discussion about fear or love. And yeah, sometime in November, I'll take like a month off. I'm going to have, my daughter's going to be born sometime like that. So yeah, I'm going to not even try to be available for an hour once a week, because you know it could be like I gotta take care of the kid or something. So it's like I'm not gonna chance it. Yeah,
Her responsibilities, but hey, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, congratulations.
So I'll leave it open if anyone wants to say anything in closing. You can give if you have like a website, or you know, say go here if you want to look into my work or whatever. So we can wrap it up with that, or anything else you want to say in closing.
Well, I'll just jump in real quick. It's all about morality, you know, morals and ethics, how we treat ourselves and how we treat, you know, others, since we have to share this planet with others. So, you know, we have to have moral foundations as form as the highest form of law, and as far as the highest understanding and knowledge that one can come to know. If you want to find me, you can find me on Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, D Live, running 24/7 live streams on 4 different platforms. And you can find me on the One Great Work Network. So you can find all of the work there, along with all of the work I've done with all of the individuals online and the One Great Work Warriors.
Yeah, Brandon's on constant amphetamines. He doesn't sleep. 24/7 machine. Kidding.
Yeah, the live stream is it's got a mind of its own. And speaking of mind, fear is the mind killer. So we can try to awaken your mind on my channel. I got some cool hip hop stuff, Dissolving the Divide, cool podcast, countering the divide and conquer dialectic stuff with Leslie Powers, One Great Work Warriors, One Great Work Network, Sound Path to Freedom. And this is my life, and it's fucking awesome. Lift off. Ignite that shit, y'all. Break that fear. Get him, Jerry.
I appreciate anything solving the divide, so I'm gonna have to check that out. And just want to say congratulations, Kris, on your daughter's birth coming up. And
Thanks.
You're welcome. I've been watching the replays and they are amazing. So I would recommend rewatching this. And yes, Lex Rex.
I think Fiona's back. If you want to say anything in closing.
Sure, yes. Thank you so much. You all are very kind. I'll be very mindful of my words. Not because you don't allow me to speak, but you direct me as a mentor, as a guide that speak pertaining to the topic so that we are not off led. So I'll be mindful. And you know what? I want to compliment you. Your videos are so detailed. The only reason they repel me because I know I have to do the work and I'm a sloth, so lazy. So whenever I need to read your videos, you cannot just hear it on the go, while traveling in cab. Just I view others video. No, 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 for your videos I need to sit with a notepad with a pen that works, and every 10 seconds I have to pause because I have to make notes. And I've been running away from hard work, but no more, I promise you. I'll have my learnings on time, on point. Thank you so much. So kind of you, sir. And I thought about it. You said that you talk a lot, and well, sometimes of value. How about you do something on your own? Create a channel, make an outlet. So so sir, I've thought about it. And if you could guide me a little on the topics that I could start with, whatever you channel I could make, I promise I would do it. Because I think I need a very healthy way of expelling this scattered energy that I have in a very directed and empathetic way, instead of yelling the songs out loud. So if you could, thank you so much again. Congratulations on the daughter baby.
Thank you.
Lovely. Yeah.
And yeah, that's perfect. That's what, I haven't said the purpose of the Great Work Launchpad. I had a little intro that I used to give, get people initiated into the great work, and that if you needed help on ideas for like how to get started, I could give ideas, and I could even assign homework and things like that for people who need like the more structured guide. So for sure. And just thinking about it like that, I'd say since you have more of fears of where you live and of like repercussions for speaking out, since with the corruption or whatever is going on in your country, and you have these fears of showing your face, I'd say you don't even have to start with an audio. You could start with writing, and that's how I started. So you could get like you could start with like Substack is popular. I'd say instead of doing like a WordPress.com free site or a Blogspot, I don't even know if that's around anymore, but WordPress.com, I'd say go to Substack, because that's more the popular place, I think. And create an account, create a name for whatever, like Minds Evolve Consciousness. Think of what you want to call what you're going to do, or you could just call it your own name, but I'm guessing you don't want to use your own name. So think of a name of what you
Yes.
want to represent, and make a page or however it works at Substack for that, and then you can start talking about something. So if you want to, like, you don't know what to start talking about, well, I'd say go to Mark Passio's podcast number 1, and
Okay.
when you listen to that, pick something out of it. So that first podcast is pretty much about truth. So you could talk about what he talks about and put it into your own words. And you could do that with like the first 10 podcasts that Mark Passio has. It's all great material. And,
Yes, sir.
you could think of other things related to it. And you could do your own research and try to bring other things in that maybe Mark hasn't talked about. And, you could do like, you could end up making 10 or 20 posts just on the first podcast or something like that. And your posts don't have to be long to start. You could start with, I'd say 500 words is a good minimum to start with. It's not that much. It's like a few paragraphs. And then
Yes,
you
sir.
could work up to 1,000, which is pretty good. That's like a 5 or 7 minute read or something. But 500's like 3 minutes or something. It's not very much. You could just start with that. Or if you're comfortable writing, that's something that I started off too big. I realized like one of my first articles was like that I did myself, not based on Passio's work. But even the ones on Passio's work, they were like thousands of words. And the ones I did myself, like Truth is Love, Love is Truth, that one was like, I don't even know how long it was, thousands and thousands of words. So, people have short attention spans. So the 500 word limit is probably good. Up to 1,000, you know, if you do more than that, it might be stretching it. You won't get as many people to maybe come across your work. So I'd say 500 words, 1,000 words, somewhere around there. And yeah, just write about, if you don't know the material, well, then that's the work you got to do first, is learn it. And Mark Passio is a great place to go to progress in like a stepwise manner on several concepts. I do some of that in my work. It's more built off of Mark Passio's work, so I haven't like created a whole stepwise progression course like he has.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that would be my suggestion. Think of a name, go to Substack, and take some time, think of a name, create a page, and then you can write about something. You can just do an introductory post first, and then you can write about a topic. And like I said, go to anyone's work. I'm just using Mark Passio because I think it's the best resource that exists out there.
What if she uses your work? She picks one of your slides and just writes something about it and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Anyone do that kind of?
Yeah, and I could credit you, of course.
Yeah, I have. I got infographics. You could pick images and talk about what's in the image, or you could go to anybody's work and talk about something. I'm just saying, if you don't know what to talk about, you go listen to what someone else is talking about on like an important matter, and that's why I mentioned Passio, because most of his episodes are good stuff that you can talk about that's relevant towards the goal of moral education and the peripherals related to it, to get people towards that understanding.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So kind of you.
Cool. Well, I wish you luck, and come back next week and let us know if you have a name. Let us know what your name is, and you can drop your link to your Substack, and you get a few people following your work, at least.
Yeah, so much affection and care and attention in a day. I'm gonna start crying. I'm overwhelmed, guys. Thank you so much. Then here is a world where I'm scared of men, and here's a bunch of men who are just nothing but encouraging me and showing me guidance. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, that's something. I know in your country it's a bit different. But yeah, that's work you can do on yourself. There is that reality of assholes everywhere in the world, but just because you're a woman doesn't make you inferior. Everyone is equal in their rights, and we can all work on ourselves to even improve any skill sets that we might not have. Some people can have more of a propensity towards it and comes easier to them, but usually with everything, you put in the hard work and you can learn whatever we're doing. If you're into music, like you said, you like to sing things, well, you could create, maybe you would want to write a song about these topics, and I don't know, that's something you could do eventually down the line in a few years, or who knows when. And just ideas for things that you do that you're passionate about. Since you're passionate about music, well, then that's something you could align yourself towards down the line and try to work towards that.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Thank you.
So I hope you guys come back next week. Appreciate everyone coming on the show and voicing their voice.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of music, just real quick, soundpath.org, you can find Soul Expression, XPRSN is how he spells it. And that's where you can find his work. Really appreciate him coming up in this round. Just want to throw that in.
Yes, very well. Thank you. I made a note. Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week, and see you next week. Take care.
It's a long wait.
Yeah, 7 days.
It's a long wait. The last time I missed the video, I was like, I put 3 alarms in my phone. I was like, it better ring at 6:30 IST, So, yeah. Anyway, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.